shit. Welcome to the first episode of MoneyPit Garage, and you can see that the reveal car is my 2003 350Z Touring Edition. Clearly, as you can see, it won't start, even after all the money I've spent on it so far. And I thought I'd just make this intro video to talk about how long I've had the car, the repairs that I've done to it so far, and the money that I've spent on it. Now, I've had the car for about 2 years now, probably 18 months or so. Actually, no, a little over 2 years now. And I bought this as a project daily car, like a lot of other car people would try and do. And like a lot of car people, I've wasted a lot of money on it. Now, I bought the 350Z because when I was 12, there was Need for Speed Underground 2. And that green 350Z just really stuck with me for a long time. And then 2 years after that, Tokyo Drift came out. And you had the two black and gold 350Zs, and that was like astonishing. And I knew when I was 15 that I need to have one of these cars. So 10 years down the track, I become an adult, and I go, do you know what? It's time to buy a 350Z. And I decided, in my infinite wisdom, to buy the worst example possible. So this is it, as you can see here. I bought this about 2.5 hours away from where we are right now, in a suburb called Tani, I think. I don't know how to pronounce it. And when I bought this car and inspected it, I should have just said no straight away. It had a misfire. It had some 370Z Nismo wheels, which was probably the nicest thing about it. A slipping clutch and an oil leak. Like, a sane person would have said hell no to this car. But the redeeming feature of this car is that the paintwork's actually really, really good for its age. It had the Nismo rims, which were really, really great too. 19-inch, forged by Rays as well. And inside the car, it has a new motor. So it's got the body has 175,000 kilometers on it, but the engine only has about 85,000 kilometers in it. But we'll talk about that in more detail, about that installation and what I found when we got underneath it. So on the drive home, I reflect back on it, and I think I was actually quite lucky to be alive right now, because it was leaking oil, it was misfiring, and the transmission would slip like crazy. Anytime I put any bit of power on it, slip. The other thing as well, the slip light, so the traction control in the car would come on pretty frequently. And now with that slip light, what happens to the car in this one is that your throttle response just turns off completely. So you can imagine yourself driving 100 k's an hour, slip light comes on, all of a sudden your car is still accelerating, and you're smashing the throttle, and nothing's happening. So you would only get power back when that slip light turned off, and that slip light would turn off only if you let go of the accelerator for about 3 seconds. So it was a dangerous drive home with a leaking, misfiring, slipping car. Part of the problem of that slip, not the transmission slip, the traction control slip, was those 370Z wheels. So you can see now I've actually got some 18-inch wheels from the 350Z, the track edition, but the offset of the 370s were completely wrong. They were too far in. And what we found when we were actually changing out these wheels is that it had some slip-on spaces, and it wasn't even bolted on properly. Those wheels were clinging to absolute life when I was driving this car, and I could have just trashed it any time. But now we've got some nice track original ones. I've got the nice lame touring brakes, which will be one of the first things that we will modify when we get to it. 100 subs. Yeah, let's call it 100 subs. 100 subs and we'll change some brakes. Hey, how's that? And that fixed the traction control issue. Now, the purchase price of this car, $4,500. That's why I bought it. $4,500 for a car like this, which probably sort of sits around $10,000. I thought that with the base cost, after all the time and effort that I put into it, I can be under that figure. The figure I'm at the moment is about $12,000. What that covers is a full comprehensive service, getting it roadworthy. So roadworthy actually didn't take too much. It just needed some tinting removed. It needed a reverse bulb light. That was $180 for a reverse bulb light, by the way. Most of that was labor. Apparently, it took an hour and a half to install a reverse bulb light. I don't know how. But outside of that, the car was roadworthy very, very quickly. So it took me only 6 weeks to get it into a roadworthy condition. The next thing that I spent a lot of money on was coil packs. It had a pretty nasty misfire. And the first set of coil packs I bought from eBay, $150. Whole new set of 6 in there. And the car was pretty good. It was probably 90% good. The 10% sometimes it would misfire, but 90% of the time was really great. Now, what's happened as of late, and this is in the last 6 months, it started misfiring again. And it also stopped revving. I'll show you some footage of it. I'll stitch it into the video. And I had this issue for about 6 months until recently, where I figured out how to fix it. It spent 6 weeks at a mechanic who couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. Compression test, fuel pressure test, vacuum leads, all of that was tested. No problem there. But they couldn't figure out why it was misfiring. The only thing that they did was change the O2 sensors, and that didn't really do anything. And it wasn't until I actually went to Zach's house, we got underneath the car and we started tapping around. So, you know, the only thing that was lurking in the back of my mind is that we have spark, we have air, we have fuel, and we have compression. The last thing that we didn't check in the equation of how a petrol car works is exhaust. So my hunch was there's something wrong with my exhaust system. And let me show you. Actually, I've got the exhaust system here. Let me go and show you what this exhaust system looks like. Here's the old exhaust system. And this is the catalytic converter. It's got a lot of deposits, so it's actually blocked up. Now, this was the problem child. Let me just shake this around for you. You know. Hey, Macarena, no copy strike. Do you see that? Can you see what I'm moving around there? And we stood this one up. Chunks of the catalytic converter fell out. My beautiful fiance, Cherie, she gave me permission to spend as much money as I wanted to fix my car. And to fix the car, it needed a catalytic converter. And I figured, you know what? Time to get a whole new exhaust system. Here's what $2,000 looks like. And this is what it sounds like. Nothing, because it doesn't start. And that's the story of the Z so far. So in total, I'm about $12,000 into it. As you can see, it looks pretty nice. But one day, you'll hear it start. So if you like this video, share, like, and subscribe. And if we get 50 subs, what do you reckon, Zach?
Yeah, 50.
50 subs, we'll get started on a starter motor. So let's starting on the Z.
Hey, we're almost there.
We're almost there. Boom. Done. How's that?